You're on the M25 clockwise at junction 6 at Godstone. That's also been recovered, but it's still very slow.
LBC. Whether you Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. LBC.
You can always trust.
Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Let's just pause and reflect ahead of hearing from the Prime Minister later today. The incredible work that they have done, people of the National Health Service and the military. The number of vaccinations now, more than 17.5 million, and that's not taking... I mean, this is quite an extraordinary advance. So with that news, let's bring into the conversation Vaccine Minister Nadhim Zahawi, who joins me again. Again, as I say, Minister, well done to you and all your colleagues in the NHS, the military, the army of volunteers that are at sports stadiums and car parks. This really is the very best of being British, and it's fantastic and well done. Later today, we hear 4 new tests from the Prime Minister that will help you and other colleagues determine when and if parts of the economy can start. Can you briefly run through some of those tests? I understand they include very much the work you do as the deployment of vaccine and also reducing deaths. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yeah, absolutely right. So the first test is that the vaccine deployment programme continues to run to plan. The plan has been made more ambitious because we now are looking to deliver the first dose of vaccine to the over 50s by mid-April instead of May.
I'm in at last. I'm in.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And then, of course, all adults by the end of July. The second part of that is that then the evidence of the vaccination actually having the impact on infections, serious infection, hospitalization, and death. The third is that infection rates, as we gradually reopen the economy, schools followed by gradual reopening of the economy, do not begin to increase at a rate that would make it unsustainable for the NHS. And then the fourth element is around variants, that we continue to monitor variants, search test, very quickly genome sequence, and then isolate in the way we're doing with the South African variant. So they're the four tests that we will then continue to monitor. Clearly, at the moment, they're being met, hence why the Prime Minister is coming to the Commons today to set out a plan for opening schools on the 8th of March and then gradually reopening the economy. And
is it then that the number of cases per day, I stress cases, needs to be below a set figure? And if that is a figure, what might it be? Is it 1,000, 5,000? What might it be?
So it's not only cases. It is whether the infections are then leading to serious infections, hospitalization, and death. So it is those four tests I've just outlined to you, rather than setting a sort of arbitrary number. It is making sure that one, the vaccines continue to deploy and work, and then that we don't see because of a particular reopening of part of the economy, the infection rates really shooting up to a level where it's unsustainable for the NHS.
It's obviously good news that children in England can go back to school. Can we talk a little bit about what sort of exercise, so playgrounds that they might have, the level of that, and also the adult population? A lot of people contacting me, you won't be surprised to hear, Minister, when can they go back to the gym? When can they start swimming again? When can they play golf or whatever it might be? Mr. Zahawi.
So I guess the simple way to look at this is that outdoor is safer and therefore will be prioritised versus indoor. So schools go back on the 8th of March. Outdoor sport at schools will be also going back. 29th of March, outdoor sports, tennis, golf, outdoor organised team sports, grassroots football will go back by 29th of March. And then gradually, as the Prime Minister will set out, we'll begin to reopen the rest of the economy.
OK, but the gym and fitness sector then, is that the end of March? Is that April? Where might it be?
So as I said, at the moment, it's outdoors versus indoors. Outdoors is the priority because it is where the transmission rates are much, much, much lower. But you'll have to wait to hear from the Prime Minister before, however much you tempt me on your brilliant programme, Nick Ferrari. I'm not going to preempt my boss from his big moment this afternoon in the Commons and, of course, this evening at the press conference.
Very wise. From the coverage that we have today, Minister, there's no mention of the tiers, the old tier system. Has that effectively gone now, tiers?
So I think because the way this new variant actually took hold, which has become the dominant variant, the Kent variant, in the United Kingdom, infection rates around the country have pretty much been, there are some pockets, but pretty much rose to sort of similar, very high, unsustainable levels. So the view is very much that this is about a gradual reopening of the whole of England, not regional, but it's absolutely following, as I said, children first, they're the priority, schools. Two people being able to one-on-one meet outdoors and maybe have a coffee together. That's also on the 8th of March. Then the 29th, two families, or rule of six, and of course, outdoor sports.
Let me take you to another area of expertise. You were, of course, a business minister. It's being reported that there could be a rise in corporation tax. Labour former Chancellor Alistair, now Lord Darling, says if you put taxes up, you risk choking off recovery. Is he right?
So Alistair Darling will know, because he's been in the job as Chancellor, that it is beyond the business minister's pay grade to preempt the Chancellor when he's about to, in the next couple of weeks, on the 3rd of March, deliver a budget. And so I think it's right that the Chancellor weighs up in the round exactly what the economy needs. He's done a brilliant job to date in putting 180 billion into supporting business.
It's got to be paid for, though. You know as well as anybody, as a former business minister, all that has to be paid for. Is the way to pay for it tax increases, Minister?
Well, I don't disagree with you, but I'm not going to preempt the Chancellor. What I would say, I know he's focused on infrastructure, a big push. We've got £640 billion to deploy in this Parliament in infrastructure spend. Skills continue to be a priority for the Chancellor, and he's put billions into the Kickstart scheme, and of course the 30 billion plan for jobs that he's put in place. And of course the third, which is really important for your listeners all up and down the country, because you're no longer, I remember you used to be a London station, now you're a national station, is the levelling up agenda. And making sure that we really do invest in those parts of the country which need that investment in jobs, and that is the priority for the Chancellor. I've just set out the three things for you. I've probably gone beyond my portfolio, but wait until the 3rd of March.
We need to keep you in post because you seem to be doing a good job. So let's end there. Keep up the good work, and on behalf of all my listeners, thank you for all you're doing. Nadhim Zahawi, Vaccine Minister, appearing here on LBC, where the time is 2 minutes before 8, which allows me to get another caller in. Dave in Bournemouth. Dave, you've heard a little bit more there. Do you think the timing sounds about right? Should be they doing something different? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Good to speak to you.
And you, sir.
No, my main point is that all your commentators seem to be saying, well, we're going to do it cautiously, we're going to follow the data because we don't want to lock down again. But the big game changer this time, they keep quoting last year, is the fact we